Another week and another banger chapter from One Piece, chapter 1151. It was fantastic, so it is of course time for us to discuss all the things that happened and what this might imply for the future of One Piece. As always, if you would like to watch the full uncut version of this stream, I have that down on Patreon below. If you would like to theorycraft with us, we do streams every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we've also got a Discord down below where you can theorycraft with us all week long. Before we get too deep into it, make sure you smash that like button, hit the notification bell so you know whenever I post a new video, and make sure you're subscribed. And as we are going through this, make sure to drop your favorite One Piece theories in the comments. But without further ado, let's get into chapter 1151 of One Piece. Okay, guys, so just like you're saying there, Jet, I'm kind of blown away that here we are yet again on another golden pilgrimage. Like, literally the last one said the pilgrimage is complete, and yet here we are. But this is a pretty dynamic cover photo. I'm not too mad about it. So Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, volume 35, sumo tourney in Hakumai, hurling Urashima's big brother Yokozuna Sukune. And like, that's it. It's just a wrestling match, which, like, again, I like to see like the people that we know so well in here, but I'm over these, dude. I'm very much over these. Look, he's trying to say something. What is it, Mr. Ya? Second strongest. He goes second strongest. He seems really fixated on that detail. I love it. See, they're setting up the classic rivalry just like we have with Sanji and Zoro, and I love that, like, we'll never get any true confirmation probably of who was stronger, and they're always going to be arguing back and forth about who did it better. That is awesome, dude. Everybody back on the lift. We're returning to the Sun World. Elbaf's in danger. Save your breath, Chopper. I get the idea. Whose preposterous hockey is that? Dog, ha ha. Looks like you're gonna need me after all. Let's go. So it looks like Loki might actually be able to join the chat and do it. Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. What another banger chapter, man. This is a brilliant setup. It totally makes sense we're about to go on break for a couple weeks with how crazy it's going to get, because, like, I would very much argue that next chapter we see Luffy and all of them make it to the surface, like, which means the real battle actually begins in chapter 1152. So first, let's start a list of theories that are right so far. The game of Go, Othello, is very much so prevalent, without a doubt. Real quick, let's break down what the game of Go specifically is. It's a strategic board game for 2 players. The goal of the game is to surround more territory than your opponent. It's played on a grid of intersections where players alternate placing black and white stones, which quite obviously is exactly what we're dealing with right here on this page, which is just crazy that they so blatantly showed us that. Like, we had that theory, but, like, you know, it was more of like, this seems to represent the game, but they're like, no, we are playing the game, and we're gonna put that straight into like the manga panels. I feel like that's crazy. Floof Point saves the day. Back when Sommers was still attacking Saul and Robin and Chopper were there, Jet and I theorized that Chopper was going to jump off the branch with Robin and activate Floof Point, and then they were going to be the ones to go tell our boys down in the underworld that, hey, it's bad up there, we need y'all's help. So we were half right about that. Chopper was going to use his Floof Point to get somebody to the underworld, but he ended up doing it with Gabon. Next up, Emu's Haki summons Luffy and Zoro to fight. Honest to God, yeah, that's basically going to happen at this point. It's interesting that, most specifically, we have, who was it that calls out the Haki? It was Gabon. And this also is interesting to say, because he says, like, that Haki as if, like, he knows the Haki, like he's felt it before, which is another interesting thing I think we need to talk about, is the fact that Gabon may have actually directly fought with Emu at some point. The Holy Knights for sure on God Valley. You're thinking this also happened at God Valley? I could totally see that, dude. With everything popping off at God Valley, I could totally imagine that Emu probably was like, you know what, F this, and took somebody over, and we got a, hockey blast like that, and that would have been the moment that Gabon did experience this for the first time. And another thing I really didn't think about is, like, still, like, the world is completely unaware that Emu exists, save for the revolutionaries at this point. So Emu coming to Elbaf is also Emu kind of like revealing themselves kind of to the world, which is a wild concept there. Harold was making deals with the world government, without a doubt. That is also confirmed right here. It's really, really interesting that Emu, like, mentioned how he specifically things up. The heart of Elbaf. This country would have been subjugated years ago if not for Harold's miserable failure. So yeah, we do get a bit of a confirmation that Harold was in fact working with the world government, which does continue to lead into and basically everybody's theory at this point, that Loki was trying to stop him from working with the world government, and that is what happened. I think a theory was dropped either in our theory crafting section or just somewhere on the internet. It's very possible that Emu did the same thing to King Harold that Emu's doing to like Dory and Bragi right now. So that is why Loki had to kill Harold, because he straight up turned into a demon and was going to turn this place into hell. So like that being said, like I could totally see Emu having just done the exact same thing, or it could have been just King Harold simply realizing that, hey, what we're doing is not for the good, and we need to stop this. And then Emu was like, well, then you're done. Then you're done. Lastly, potentially right, Jet's theory that Emu's powers require some form of game. Exactly, yeah, and that kind of just rotates back to our Othello theory, and that could be it, because and that could be how Emu, like a game master, but at the same time like is cheating in the game for all intents and purposes, or at least not giving you all the cards at one time, so Emu always has the upper hand. It's interesting. Zen over here says, you think that the fruits were either Joy Boy or Nika's creation originally without the cause of or without the curse of the sea, which if your theory of Emu being the sea devil is right, then Emu added the curse later, making devil fruits undesirable to use in this now flooded world. Ooh, I like that a lot. I don't know, I still have this theory that I've been cooking on, right, with the way devil fruits came about, and like the light quick bit of it is Emu, back as a regular person, or whomever the first version of Emu is, was somebody who was being subjugated by a like religious tyrant in some capacity. So out of Emu's will to rebel against this religious tyrant whom was oppressing them, Emu manifested the first devil fruit, which is inherently the devil fruit. So Emu could become a devil, which is exactly what this religious figure feared the most. So Emu could kind of just turn into the thing that they hated the most, right? But of course, that gets a lot deeper with Emu then just becoming an actual devil and enacting demonic things on the entire world. So now Emu becomes the subjugator of all of these other civilizations and peoples, and through those people needing a savior from Emu, they manifested the Nika fruit specifically, and that is where Nika really came into existence, because they needed the light to come shine through in a darkened world at that point. That's kind of where my initial stance on like how devil fruit started. Because like I would say like they all branched from there, but Zen's perspective on that is super interesting as well. With it being either Joy Boy or Nika's creation specifically, I'm not so sure about that, but I do like the idea of like Emu being a sea devil, which causes the curse of the devil fruits. Because you would also like, you could totally expect Emu to want to make the devil fruits weaker for people other than stronger, because Emu doesn't want someone to get strong enough to overpower them. So Emu creating the curse of devil fruits, making them undesirable, makes a lot of sense to me. I like that a lot, actually. All right, so shout out Zen on this one. We can even see a date here on 6/3. Zen was already talking about this. Zen says, I just realized that Emu's Domi Reversi functions like the rules of a game called Reversi, especially in the fact that giants between Dory and Bragi are changing too. In Reversi, the goal is to change every piece on the board to your own color, either black or white. To do this, you capture rows of pieces, just like the giants being turned into demons. Dory and Bragi were the start and the end of the row of giants turned to demons. Seems like Joy Boy's team is set up as white pieces, and Emu's team is set up as black pieces. I wonder if the Ancient Kingdom developed ways of granting people white forms, Sulong, Hordes, energy steroids, and the Nika fruit, possibly even Lunarians with their white hair. We've seen a hint to the Reversi style game in Wano called Go. Different rules though, same concept. The CP0 agents used Go as a way to show the tides, or show how the tides turn throughout the raid of Onigashima, which I loved that symbolism and the way they did that. They absolutely nailed that. You also wonder if Big Mom's soul fruit is just how Domi Reversi works in a devil fruit form. Emu does tell the giants, in exchange for some measure of thy lifespan, thou will receive an undying body and uncanny strength. So I wonder if Domi Reversi is used to affect the person's lifespan, or a large part of it to fuel this power, and could lead to the affected person's death. Big Mom also got the same fiery look in her eyes during the raid of Onigashima after consuming a year of her own lifespan. How do we think the whole demoning away thing from Impel Down connects to Emu? It seems like, if my theory on Domi Reversi's working through a lifespan exchange consumption, then the prisoners being demoned away are sacrifices for Emu / the Holy Knights to take their souls to fuel Domi Reversi. I love that bit of the theory too. Could be why level 6 of Impel Down is where the prisoners go to be forgotten in history, so Emu can take them and use their strong souls to fuel their powers with no repercussions. So a big piece to that, like I saw somebody talking about that, like this concept of like Impel Down and like the whole demoning away. They use the whole Ivankov and the 5.5 level as like a red herring. So yes, some people are disappearing to 5.5, but some people are in fact demoning away. And one side of it, I saw a theory pop up last week that Emu did not get the Opie Opie no Mi treatment on them to make them immortal. That's not why they're immortal. They're immortal because they've been siphoning life off of people this entire time. And Impel Down is an absolute perfect place for Emu to farm years like it's nothing. So that makes a ton of sense to me, that Emu is in fact using Impel Down just to farm lifespan and potentially run experiments and tests on which people would do better as like a demon to help them in the army. So new theory. You're noticing Gunko's hair is even longer. Emu's control rapidly aging the body. Is that why the Gorosei are old? It might be. I'm not totally sure if it's getting longer, but I do like the concept of like when Emu takes the body over, it starts rapidly aging you, or basically just like it's heavily taxing on the body. I wouldn't say that it inherently looks longer, but I still think that concept could be something that we could cook on. Could be the same exchange of lifespans that Domi Reversi uses exactly. What if Emu ideally stops their age in their prime to control them later with more lifespan, meaning Dory and Bragi are rapidly aging themselves, and why Emu wants the giants who have multi-century lifespans naturally. Full control over them will be less taxing than it would on humans and other mortals, potentially where he has to hold back as to not instantly age them to death. That's a really, really good angle to that. I like that a lot, dude. So yeah, and that would make sense as to why they want the giants so much, because the giants inherently have such longer lifespans that, of course, they're a shoo-in for the option, you know? All right, so Zen's got another one right here. Never thought about it till now, since Elbaf is being set up like a Ragnarok type arc, which 100% now is. Luffy represents Balder. Balder is the Norse god of light, radiance, and joy. Blackbeard represents Halder, the blind. Blackbeard's association with trickery, gods of darkness. And Shanks and Uta represent Thor and Thrud. Interesting that you're throwing Uta into this one. You could even say that Luffy has experienced a Ragnarok type event before. In legend, it says that Ragnarok starts when Balder's heart is pierced with a mistletoe arrow. The arrow for Luffy being in Impel Down / Marineford when Blackbeard delivered Ace, and Akainu's magma first being the mistletoe arrow to pierce Luffy's heart in an emotional way. Ace's death shattered Luffy. Killing him may even represent Heimdall, since he has what looks like a Gallier horn in 1151. Okay, got you. You're talking about this horn right here. All right. And Emu represents Loki, the god, not the character. This makes you think of Gunko Emu's arrow. Oh, and that's a good fact too, dude. Adding to that point of something piercing the heart and Gunko / Emu using the arrow fruit does make a lot of sense right there. That's crazy. So Emu really, I mean, and like you're saying, Emu actually does try to kill Luffy later in this arc. That could make a lot of sense. Like, obviously this isn't the final fight, but like I could see Emu making a rash jump to try to like take Luffy out quickly, because Emu obviously, I mean, Emu's #1 enemy is Luffy without a doubt. So it would totally make sense that Emu is gonna just like dash out. And the moment he appears, Emu's gonna try to turn up, but we're gonna have something that's gonna like stop them in the middle of all of this and send them all back. And again, I think that's gonna be Brook performing as the Soul King. I'm still, even after this chapter, very convinced that Gunko's connection with Brook is gonna be what like stops this connection with Gunko and Emu. Again, music being the ultimate answer in this entire story. I genuinely do believe that Brook is gonna whip out a Soul King song, and that's gonna wake Gunko back up. And then I also feel like Luffy's drums of liberation are gonna be what helps wake up all the giants who have started to turn. What if Killingham is in fact a fishman? I didn't think, I mean, I noticed like the sharp teeth at first, but I didn't think too much of it. But for real, if he is in fact a fishman, that would be very, very interesting to say the least, because we really haven't seen too many fishmen on the side of the world government here. And so that makes me curious. And then also, like, this might be a stretch, but does Killingham also look like Homegirl who like gave the prophecy? Yeah, it might just be me, or I might just be reaching here, but like low-key, I kind of feel like she does look a little bit like like Killingham. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm tripping on that, but like she could be an ancestor of that, and that'd be kind of wild. Do I think that's Bonnie that's trying to save the Straw Hats tied up? Where would Bonnie be right now? Are you talking about maybe like this potential person right here in like that section? Yeah, you see that small person walking up to him. So it's like this little person right here and this one right here. Maybe. I would love to see, that would actually make a lot of sense if Bonnie did end up doing that. Like, Bonnie and Vegapunk got to enter the chat here at some point. They obviously know stuff is going on. That's actually a really good catch. So, potential prediction for the next chapter, we could very much see Bonnie end up at least releasing the Straw Hats right here and coming to the rescue. That could be them right there. Let's get some quick predictions in. Next chapter, we officially get the big boys, the heavy hitters entering the chat. And I do find it interesting that they are highlighting very specifically Haruden, Loki, and Luffy, as opposed to like this could have been like, you know, this panel could have been Luffy, Zoro, Sanji being like, all right, let's go. But no, instead they're showing these guys. And I do love that it ends off with saying, looks like you're gonna need me after all, which makes me think that Loki might actually join the chat. I've been pretty convinced that Loki's going to be consistently removed from the story because he's so powerful. But at this point, anything could really happen. And I think someone made a theory recently, or I saw someone on TikTok talking about this, that Haruden could potentially get flipped. And, you know, these brothers are going to have to fight each other. I think it's highly likely that one of the brothers gets flipped for sure, but I'm thinking it'll be Haruden over Loki without a doubt. That'll be a big battle in itself. And hopefully we get to see Loki actually do some things. I am really excited to see some legitimate feats from him. You know, I could see like the anger in Haruden for Loki killing his father, like being the thing that manifests like the demonic anger from him. So I just think no matter how you cut it, next chapter kind of has to be like more just pure chaos, dude. It's going to be wild. I definitely on a simple thing think that we're going to get a brother fight. And then Luffy's going to go start dealing with Emu, hopefully immediately. I really hope Luffy goes straight to Emu, but I could absolutely see Luffy getting like caught by one of the Holy Knights or something like that. The heads of the 3 separate events we're about to follow. Harden goes one way, Loki goes one, and Luffy to Emu. Oh, yeah. So they're just going to split up in 3 totally different pathways. Very, very possible. Very, very possible. Like one of them goes to fight Killingham, one of them goes to fight Sommers, basically, and then Luffy goes to fight Emu. I can absolutely see that happening as well. But I don't know. I feel like the brother fight is so fated and so perfectly set up for this. Guys, a banger chapter. The actual game of Go being like relatively confirmed. I love to see that. Also, we actually get to see a nightmare hole, which is just an interesting thing. We hadn't seen it, but it's been talked about. Not like it really adds too much, but it's like legitimately got a name tag on it, so I do find that to be interesting. We're gonna have to go like close up those nightmare holes somehow, and that's gonna be a curious. I bet you that's what our weaker Straw Hats do in the upcoming chapters. Is they're gonna be the ones to go close all the nightmare holes, while our heavy hitters fight the strong people here. You think all the Gorosei, they have been given devil fruits and they were all enhanced by Emu's power? So I don't think the Gorosei have devil fruits, but I do think they have Emu's strongest devils that they have contracts with or have the ability to connect with. That's kind of where I'm sitting with it. Floof Point did in fact happen. We do have a little bit of confirmation as well that Harold was seemingly working with the government, specifically failed in Emu's eyes to come through with all of them. Luffy's observation hockey getting stronger is crazy. And then of course, Scopper Gabon being like, dude, this is, you know, this is crazy. This hockey is insane. Like, all is bad. All is bad, dude. It's nuts. Thank you so much for locking in with me in the community for another theory crafting session. Oda is just putting out heat after heat, but unfortunately we are going on a 2-week break after this chapter, but that does mean that I have time to make a couple more YouTube videos for you. One specific one being a banger Blackbeard theory on how Blackbeard is inherently taking these devil fruits. Me and my friend Mel did an in-depth dive on what we think he may be doing under the sheet with Whitebeard. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when that video is uploaded, and we will be back very soon with some more theory crafting discussions on One Piece. Thank you for being here. Make sure to check out the Patreon below, the Discord. Tell the people you love them, touch some grass, drink some water, and I will see you guys in the next video.